Welcome to Keep Talking, a podcast by the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. I'm your host, Sam Madore. Keep Talking is all about having honest conversations around mental health, lived experience, and hope. Today, we are joined by Karen Furneaux, 3-time Olympian, 2-time world champion, and body movement ambassador. Later in the episode, we'll continue the conversation with Foundation's president and CEO, Star Cunningham. I'm so glad you're here. Let's keep talking. Please be advised, this conversation may contain discussion of suicide. I'm here with Karen Furneaux. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Sam.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Karen, I want to start chatting with you about your history as an Olympian. Maybe you can give us a bit of background on you starting out and the road that led you to become an Olympian.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question. So I had a dream when I was about 8 years old that all of a sudden, I think it was from watching the Olympic Games on TV, and all of a sudden that was like my primary focus was getting to those Olympic Games. And I didn't know at that point what sport it would be in. I eventually found kayaking when I was about 12 years old.
8 and 12, holy moly. Okay.
Yeah. So before you kayak, you have to learn how to swim, of course, and be comfortable in the water. I always loved being in the water, and I loved being on the water in my kayak and just kind of leisurely paddling. But then also I really liked sprinting, and that was kind of my main goal as I got older, was to go to the Olympic Games, having been to the junior World Championships and then senior World Championships. Then my goal got bigger and bigger, and I loved it. Once I had that goal in mind, there was no kind of turning back. Every time I got to put on a Canada jersey, it was so special.
That's so great.
Yeah, super fun.
And so what age are you talking about here when you would have made it to the Olympics?
So I was 23 when I made my first Olympic team, and I got to represent Canada at 3 Olympic Games. So it was 2000, 2004, and 2008. And then 17 different world championships in those years. So that
only
was
17.
That was really fun.
That's amazing.
In all different countries, which was beautiful. And then I got to work a little bit on the broadcast side in Rio and Tokyo. So got to work with CBC on those games, which was a very different experience than being an athlete. Oh, yeah. But I equally loved it. It was so much fun. Lots of good memories for sure.
That's so cool. And, something we talk about a lot with the Mental Health Foundation and with a lot of the grants that we fund is the importance of movement and activity and not necessarily Olympic athletics, but, moving your body and being active and how that can impact your mental health. Have you found, I already know the answer to this, have you found this to be true for you too?
100%. So movement, like we are made to move our bodies, or we're meant to kind of let our blood circulate, our heartbeat, our breath kind of go quicker, all the lymphatic kind of stuff that happens in the body, all the hormones that circulate. We are meant to move our bodies. And for me, that was really key. Two years ago, I was diagnosed with late-onset bipolar disorder. I was in the hospital. And while I was in hospital, it was quite scary to me. This was something that was unknown to me prior to. And while I was in the hospital, one of the things that kind of helped me was going for little walks when I could, and doing yoga in my little room in the short stay unit at the Abbey J. Lane. And that, for me, just getting that little bit of movement in every day, that's what I know. Like, that's what I grew up doing, was moving my body. And when I couldn't do that, when I couldn't work out, when I was home after I'd been hospitalized, when I couldn't do weight training and working out like I loved to do, I found walking, and walking was just so healing. It was, I walked out a whole pair of shoes. My partner and he would walk with me every day. My family would walk with me. My friends would walk with me, and it was just so healing. It took almost 2 years, a year before I could weight train again, but 2 years until I felt really like I was making headway on my kind of coming back to myself and living with a mental illness diagnosis.
Wow. And how, I feel like this is a silly question, but how shocking was that to you? You mentioned late onset to, live most of your life without having a mental illness and then getting this diagnosis not late in your life. I mean, you're young, but later on.
Yeah, it was definitely a late onset diagnosis. I actually was, we know now that I was very unwell leading up to that point, that I was hospitalized. It was like the carpet had been ripped out from underneath my feet. It was just crashing and crushing. But yeah, I knew kind of, when I was in hospital, I was starting to come to terms with what this meant and what, how much help I actually needed at the time. And I think that every single, we can do a lot in terms of increasing the awareness around movement. But I think the real important tie is increasing the awareness around movement and mental health and that piece. And also, I was going through menopause. So a time in my life, which also, unknown to me, changes a whole lot in your body, and it's a lot to deal with. So, movement for sure, even with those pieces, was super healing for me.
Was that connected, like with your doctors, that that menopause could have potentially been what not triggered? I don't want to use that word, but that might have led to the late onset bipolar?
Yeah, it could have been. That's what they think. I don't think that's a primary piece, but I think it definitely made it tougher. And tougher to diagnose and tougher to figure out medications. So I actually went on hormone replacement therapy just to kind of stabilize that piece so that we could do the actual figuring out of medications. And I'm grateful to say that things are much, much better. Medications have moved up again a little bit, but they're pretty stable for the most part. So really happy to have been on the other side of that.
It's such a challenge, and I don't know that people realize that struggle as well. Is, obviously there's stages to this, and you had to recognize that there's something going on, and to even start those conversations with doctors. And then a lot of people don't realize that step of trying to find the right medication and the right balance is a whole separate thing all on its own.
It absolutely is. And I think for me, learning how to work with the diagnosis and the medications and destigmatizing all of that for myself, I think was a big, big component. And I think, the more we talk about mental health and mental illness and medications and mental health care facilities, I think each time we do that, we're helping to take away some of that stigma so that folks can access the care and the treatment that they need.
Totally. And you mentioned it, destigmatize it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, if you're struggling with mental illness and it's like everybody else being comfortable with it, but a lot of times it's looking internally and making sure that you're okay talking about it for you and recognizing, what you're dealing with personally.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, for sure. So in terms of, you had mentioned that you couldn't get into weightlifting after you left the hospital. Was that like a doctor's directive, or was that just you just physically weren't able?
Yeah, just physically wasn't able. And it was, I did a small stint of working out in 4 months after I got out of the hospital, but that was very short-lived. And I went back to walking, which was super great. And I walked in all weather. It was all conditions. It was something I just needed to do. And I knew when I did it, I would feel better while doing it, but also afterwards. So the effects kind of last a longer time. And I think folks need to realize that even by doing it for a short amount of time, that has lasting impacts on our mindset, our ability to sleep.
All of
that
it's
stuff.
connected. And people don't necessarily realize it's all connected. I forget all the time that all of it is connected. And then you remind yourself when you do get up and get moving. I think too, one of the hardest things is actually getting up to go for a walk. So as you were, coming out of the hospital and getting into some sort of routine, did you find you had those days, where it was hard to even get up and go out for a walk? And if so, what got you there?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult on some days. But I knew, I kind of let myself not have any expectations about it. So not kind of setting myself up for something that wouldn't feel great. For me, it was most important just to do it, to just begin.
Yeah.
And some days that's all I could do. I could just begin. I could take one step and take the next step. And I think that for me, just being okay with that rather than just being judgy of that, I think was a tough thing for me because I'm so used to pushing and just driving hard. But this was something that just needed to process. And there was also tons of anxiety around, anxieties that I'd never had before around, I didn't feel comfortable or safe in my body for a time. I was worried, of course, of going back into mania. My doctors were always, so great. My psychiatrist and psychologist, who I still see weekly, they were so great at just kind of taking that down a notch and helping me to feel safe and comfortable and cared for.
It's so important. And you've mentioned a couple of people in your life. You mentioned your partner, you mentioned friends who would meet and walk in all conditions. And of course, your supporters, your psychologist, your psychiatrist. How important has that support system been for you?
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that support. I wouldn't be, I look at how far I've come in the healing journey and as part of how I'm going to go forward. There was about 10 months of depression that followed when I came back from being in hospital and the day hospital, which was the outpatient piece, and 10 months of depression, which I had never felt before, at sometimes very severe. I had for a time suicide ideation. It was very scary. But that was quickly kind of brought back on track to be more positive and supportive and helpful. I mentioned the anxiety that, again, I never really felt in that way. I mean, I was nervous always to speak in public or to race and things like that, but it was, what I've considered to be a
healthy nerves.
Healthy anxiety, healthy nerves. But at this point, I was just, everything had to start from scratch again. I couldn't drive because of anxiety. I had to relearn how to drive, and that came in very small doses. So I was so grateful for the support of my friends. They drove me everywhere. Cam drove me everywhere. My parents drove me everywhere. My sisters, and it was just for this, I could not do it. And for the most part, it was due to, I actually started having, before I was into the hospital, I had a number of panic attacks while driving. So this was the link for me, which was not enjoyable. So it took a lot of, relearning and starting, and, that was never a linear process either, which makes it so tough. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it still won't be in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing for sure.
So now I can drive the bridge.
Right? It's those wins for sure that you have to pay attention to and actually celebrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to your support system, because something that always fascinates me, and in my own lived experience as well, is the conversations that you sometimes have to have with your loved ones. And, I was thinking when you said that your partner was walking with you, a lot of times I've had conversations with my husband about don't say, do you want to go for a walk? Say, let's go for a walk.
Oh, I love that.
So that it's, you know what I mean? It's reframing. That was actually a tip. That's not me. That was a tip from my therapist as well. But did you find yourself having some of those conversations where you're like, you need to be direct with me. You need to say it this way or whatever? Or is there anything that jumps to mind?
Yeah, I was talking a lot in those walks and just kind of getting things sorted out and out into the open and things like that. And I just was, grateful for the ears that were with me at the time, and also for their responses. I have such gratitude for my friends, my family, and Cam, and people that I've spent time with, and they've just been. They've been supportive. They have been direct in some ways as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very well-intentioned and supportive and loving. So very grateful for that.
It's so great. It's so important. And, we're talking about it is also, it's part of it that helps you through it, is having those conversations. And sometimes people will relate to in ways that you don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you do speaking engagements too, correct?
I do.
Yeah.
Not back at that yet.
Right.
I do some online training and coaching, which has actually been really fun and healing for me. So just practicing that skill again is really fun for me.
Yeah.
It's not work per se, but it's important to get back to that piece.
Yeah.
I love
connection
that.
with other folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you still kayaking? Are you still active in that way?
Not right now. No, not right now. I did. I was coaching before I went into hospital. That's not where I'm going back to. Mm-hmm. But coaching in some way is part of who I am. So I love right now the online piece. Probably do some one-on-one as well, which will be really fun for me. And then I don't know when, but someday I'll be able to speak in front of an audience in some way, I think.
Well, look, this is a stepping stone here today. Yeah. Exactly. One thing that we're grateful for at the Mental Health Foundation is that you are going to help us with our Body Moving campaign. Mm-hmm. We're recording this in December, but the Body Moving campaign is in February.
Right.
Is literally getting people to move their bodies. That's about as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
And in any way that works for them. So maybe give us an idea. I know you've talked a bit about walking and other things, but what are some ways that you can move your body just to maybe shake yourself out of those winter blues?
Yeah, absolutely. Walking for sure when the weather is fit and the roads are safe.
When you have a sidewalk that you can walk on safely.
That's right. Yeah. And, for me, swimming has been really healing, like just being in the water. And in the winter, I love it because I swim, I do a little circuit, I swim, I go into the hot pool, and then I go into the sauna, which is just lovely. Oh. So I'm warm the whole time.
Right. I can't do saunas. You like that, hey?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really do.
That's great.
I love the heat of it. I don't stay in very long, but I enjoy that. I really like being in the water. So there's that piece. Anything like there's little weight workouts you can do. There's yoga. There's so many free opportunities too on like YouTube and things like that. That I think if folks want a way to do it at a cost-effective manner, then you can find that, which has not always been the case.
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah, it's so nice to have that access for sure. Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing too is like kitchen dance parties. Yeah. It's like, if you're just like, I think it was Mel Robbins had a guest on, and I'm forgetting the name. He's a doctor, and he said something about having a 5-minute dance party while you're waiting for your coffee or your tea to steep or something like that in the morning. And it's like, you just make that part of your routine, and that's great. Better than nothing.
Yeah. Oh no, that's super fun. I love kind of just moving around. And even when I do workouts in between my sets, I work out in my house, so I'm private, but, I do little shaking and kind of moving around, and sometimes dancing if I have good music on.
Right? Yeah.
It's super fun.
You got to make it your own.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose with Body Moving, is to make it accessible for folks who, if it is sitting or being in your home and dancing or going to the shoveling actually would be one probably.
Yes, 100%. That's a workout.
Yeah. Running to the mailbox instead of walking, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Even parking a little farther away when you're at the grocery store.
That is a good one.
Yeah. Just having those extra few steps, and doing the groceries itself is a workout. You go up and down those aisles. That's that's some kilometers.
Yeah, really. I know that is true. And the lifting and all of the things. Yeah, no, that's true. So what's next for you in this might be a loaded question. What's next for you in your healing journey right now, Karen, that you're comfortable sharing? Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just getting back that skill of speaking, of connecting with youth, connecting with communities and things like that. It's getting closer for sure. As I mentioned, I'm loving the online workout piece. I didn't realize how fun that would be, but I'm really enjoying the coaching aspect of that. I think the next step, I have to kind of focus on what feels right and good, and first and foremost, protective of my own mental health. Mm-hmm. So moving in those directions, it's what I'm meant to do next, I think. And then when I do that, I think I'm able to make really big gains or small gains, or, and if anything I've learned about this last 2 years, it's just not to rush the process, to kind of, it all is part of it. Yep. And as brutal as it has been, I just look at that and see what I kind of had to climb out of. And that's a big strength that I never knew I had. Yeah. And I hope folks that are struggling with challenges with their own mental health also recognize that, and they're able to see how great they're actually doing, and even tiny little bits of improvement is a success.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And trusting yourself too, trusting when you do need a bit more space or a bit more rest or whatever that might look like, just trusting that process too.
Yeah.
One thing I'm asking all of our guests is, and you might have already answered this, is what are you doing to find joy? What do you do that, if you're having a bad day or you're struggling, where do you look to find joy?
Yeah. I guess most recently, I decorated my home for Christmas. So that gave me a lot of light and a lot of kind of light feeling and joy, that connection to that. My partner Cam, same thing. Like, he's decorated his home. We kind of we exist in different homes, but it's we both love Christmas time and just everything that is all about. And in the fall, this sounds really funny, but I just organized and threw out and cleaned so many things in my home, and that was so it brought me joy. It was like cathartic.
You're preaching to the choir, because I did the same thing, and it was so great. And you look around and you're like, look at this place. It looks so good. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And it feels like literal, like you're decluttering, but you're also decluttering your brain a little bit too. I feel like when you do that. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. Look forward to body moving.
Same here. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you so much, Sam.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We are continuing the conversation with Star Cunningham. Hey, Star.
Hi, Sam.
Star, just had a great chat with Karen Furneaux. And I have to say, I think it was you who had started that conversation with her about joining Body Movin' as an ambassador. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. How did that happen? How did that come to be?
It was very spontaneous. I've known Karen and Karen's name and, her sports celebrity for a number of years, and thought of her in that way as someone who was really high up the ladder when it came to physical achievement. And I follow Karen on social media and had noticed her posts were talking about some time that she had spent in the Abbey J Lane. And she was speaking openly about struggling with her own mental wellness. And I thought, if there's anyone who would be a good ambassador for Body Movin' and the power of, physical activity and how it impacts our mental wellness, it would be her. So I reached out to her, and she responded right away, and we really hit it off. And it didn't work for us the first year, but it's working for us this year. And we're just so fortunate to have her as a proponent of Body Movin'.
100%, especially from that perspective of, struggling with mental health and knowing that it's the baby steps really that can help build your mental wellness back. Yeah,
you don't need to jump right back in.
No.
I think one of the real important things when you do struggle with mental illness or addiction is recognizing your own warning signs.
Yes.
You know, identifying, oops, I remember being here before and I didn't pay attention to it and it didn't work out so well. And then knowing what to do when you feel yourself sliding backwards. And baby steps is a great way to describe it. You can't just jump right into being who you were before you got ill. You will get there, but it's a road to recovery. What do they say? It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes,
I think
right.
that's a good saying for life in general, but particularly when it comes to staying healthy when you're struggling with your mental wellness.
Yeah, I love it. That's excellent. Should we do a little plug for Body Movin'?
Absolutely.
Take it away.
All right. Body Movin' is all about getting active in any way you can because we know that physical activity is so good for our mental health. Not only does it get your heart beating and give you some adrenaline, it also makes you laugh. It brings you joy. It means you're social if you're out for a walk with a friend. For me, it means I'm in nature, and being in nature is my beautiful, beautiful place where I can let things go and just PMT, present moment thinking, PMT.
Love it.
Isn't that tree beautiful? Isn't the sky clear? I have mud on my boot. You're just thinking about what's happening in the moment. And Body Moving's all about that. It's about being present. It's about being active, being social, being connected, and just doing something for yourself. It's about self-care too. So you can sign up to be involved with Body Moving online. And what you do is you just let your friends and family and your coworkers and everybody know that you're going to be moving your body for the month of February to raise awareness, but more importantly, funding for the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. And we use those funds to then support community-based organizations all across the province. So if you're moving your body in Cape Breton, we'll be supporting a community grant in Cape Breton. You can count on it. If you're moving your body in Digby, same thing. So get moving, inspire your friends and family, and raise some very important funds for the Mental Health Foundation, and say that you're part of Karen Furneaux's team. That's pretty special.
That's amazing. I love that. Awesome. Thanks, Star.
Thank you.